By the end of the 19th century, the British Empire covered around a quarter of the world and governed around 1/5 of its population. Today, though, that empire has been reduced to 14 scattered islands. And while there are many reasons for the empire's fall, there is an unexpected culprit, an ally, a trade partner, a defender of shared ideology: the United States. Through wars, democratization, industrial revolutions, and economic development, the lion and the eagle have been inseparable brothers, standing mostly side by side. How then, as the world moved into the 20th century, did the US end up being the one to break Britain's unmatched geographic reach and influence? Welcome to Living History. Once upon a time, it was famously said, the sun never set on the British Empire, but since the end of the Second World War, the sun has been steadily falling closer towards the horizon, and today sundown is upon us. However, our story begins long before the Second and even First World War was even on the horizon. As the mighty Britannia first began to traverse the seas in the 1500s, just across the Atlantic Ocean, it established the first permanent English colonies in the Americas in 1607 in Virginia. With this, though, Britain also unknowingly laid the seeds of its own demise. You see, the American colonies expanded throughout the continent and flourished for over 150 years. But then, by the late 18th century, discontent over British rule had grown into revolt among the American colonists. They were tired of oppressive British taxes and a perceived lack of colonial representation in Parliament. Things all came to a head on July 4th, 1776, when the Continental Congress fought for and declared independence from Britain. But here's the twist. The American Revolution wasn't just about independence. It was about the birth of modern democracy. So, as America experimented with self-governance, the establishment of its own democracy became a beacon of hope for people and countries across the world who were also under British colonial rule. Of course, today democracy remains a fundamental aspect of modern Britain, shaped in part by this revolutionary spirit. But it was America's revolution that sparked the beginning of the end, leading to the collapse of the British Empire. As the dust settled in the newly formed United States, the ripple effects of this momentous event would send seismic shocks through the corridors of British power. The spirit of self-governance went on to inspire similar movements worldwide and significantly influence the future of Britain's political landscape. Fast forward to the 19th and 20th centuries, and the British Empire was beginning to unravel at increasing speed as it faced challenges and international unrest on multiple fronts. India, known as the jewel in the crown, began to seek independence. Other colonies like Australia, Canada, and South Africa followed suit, but there were also global phenomena at play, which weakened Britain even further. Two cataclysmic world wars drained British resources, forcing the empire to shrink. As Britain struggled to bear the weight of successive global conflicts, its military and economic strength waned. It was almost impossible to govern and rule a quarter of the world while fighting for years to defend its own shores from thousands of miles away. Twice. Simultaneously, the United States was rising as a superpower and was using its influence to further weaken the British Empire in the midst of war. First came the Lend-Lease Act in 1941, which provided military aid to the Allies before the US even entered the war. This shifted the balance of power and reliance away from British imperialism. However, it was the Bretton Woods Conference of 1944 that truly reshaped the world economy and played a pivotal role in accelerating the decline of the British Empire even further. As war ravaged Europe, representatives from 44 nations gathered in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. There, they established a new international monetary system, solidifying currencies to the US dollar, which was backed by gold. This bolstered the dollar's supremacy, weakening the pound sterling from its once dominant position and marking a critical economic chapter in the empire's unraveling. As the war ended, the British Empire was economically and physically exhausted, while the United States emerged as a global bastion of strength. In the aftermath of war, The US also played a crucial role in the formation of the UN, which aimed to create international unity and cooperation. This further sidelined Britain's empirical chokehold on the world and dominance in global affairs. It signaled a new era in which the United States now held significant influence, limiting Britain's ability to exert its former imperial control. The US also provided financial aid and support to a war-weary Britain through initiatives like the Marshall Plan, helping to uphold its economy. However, this American assistance came with expectations of decolonization and a more equal world order, in line with UN initiatives. But hold on. There's more. You see, there was another agreement penned in the midst of war that the US also had in its arsenal. The Atlantic Charter, penned in 1941, outlined the principles of disarmament and free trade. Crafted by President Franklin D. Roosevelt and Prime Minister Winston Churchill, it also championed the principles of self-determination and individual freedoms, affirming that nations should be allowed to choose their own form of government and live free from fear and want. Although initially a declaration of war protocol against Nazi Germany, it also laid the groundwork for the post-war world order, including the formation of the United Nations, setting the stage for the eventual decline of colonial empires. But Churchill didn't admit the decline of British power without a fight. In 1942, he was famously quoted saying, "We mean to hold our own. I have not become the King's first minister in order to preside over the liquidation of the British Empire." And yet, his successors have been liquidating ever since, and the US once again continued to play a role in this empirical dismantling. You see, the Cold War rivalry between the US and the Soviet Union forced Britain to divert resources away from its colonies to meet its commitments within the Western Alliance. This strategic shift accelerated decolonization, marking the decline of the British Empire as former colonies sought independence. Between 1947 and 1960, India, Pakistan, Ghana, Malaysia, Nigeria, Kenya, Jamaica, and Cyprus were just some of the key territories that gained independence from British rule during the Cold War period. Needless to say, the post-war US-UK relationship, based on supposed shared values and interests, played a pivotal role in this transformative process. So today, what's the result of all this? Instead of ruling with ship and spectre, Britain has been gradually forced to rewrite its relationships with former colonies, instead building them on the promise of mutual respect and independent identity. And while the Commonwealth of Britain's 54 former territories may at first appear as a symbol of cooperation, it ultimately stands as a weak monument to an empire that has truly fallen and is largely ignored. Now, in the 21st century, Britain's broken empire has transformed into a broken nation, as new waves of dissolution are washing against the shores of Britain itself, and once again, America is in the fold. Following the Brexit vote in 2016, it was long promised that a trade deal between the UK and the US would help catapult Britain into a new era of strength outside of the EU. Instead, it has been marked by ongoing delays and disappointments, volatile leadership changes in both countries, from the presidential shift from Trump to Biden in the US and the chaotic shifts within the UK government have disrupted the continuity of negotiations, and despite years of discussions covering everything from military spending to chlorine baths for chickens, any agreement is yet to materialize. As a result, the anticipated benefits of any deal, including increased market access and economic growth, seem further out of reach than ever before. To find out more about the challenges facing Britain, check out our next video linked here. See you there.